Okay, I'm gonna bet that I am not the only teacher that has taken a look at my students sometime when they're working on something and it's like, "You got it last week. Why don't you get it now? I really don't understand. I'm sure that you had it. How did we forget this information in already a week?" And it gets really frustrating. And I think that a mistake that we sometimes make is that we are thinking that the learning mostly occurs during the initial encoding stage when the students are getting the information in, and that because they've got it at that moment that they've got it. Well, and think about it. Have you ever given an exit ticket and you taught the students some content and you give them an exit ticket and you're like, boom, they got it. We're going to move on to the next thing tomorrow. Well, really, what they've done is they've just been able to reiterate, which is an important thing, what they've learned. But do they have it? Do they have it in that process? You've taken 40 minutes to teach something, but will they have it tomorrow or the next day or the next? And then will they be able to take what they just learned and will they be able to apply it? Into different situations? Will they be able to retrieve it and make some connections to that learning? And part of the problem is that exit ticket. It's really just an informal measure of what they know in that moment. It's not really something that we can use as an assessment for them. It's not a quiz. If we make a list of 5 problems for them after we teach a lesson, that's not giving us a measure of do they know this content? Did they encode what they learned in that moment? And that's not a bad thing to check and see, but what we need to use it for is to guide our instruction for the next day, not that they've got the information. Research shows that a significant amount of learning occurs when the students pull that information out through the retrieval practice. So, not through the encoding practice when they put it in, but when they have to go back and get it again. My son was a wrestler from like when he was 6 years old all through high school, and he had this favorite move, and it was the arm drag. And I remember the coaches when they taught the students, the athletes, a new move, they would model it for them and then they would break it down piece by piece and the kids would practice it, and it was something that they drilled over and over again. And the really beauty thing about that arm drag move was that was not something that you won the match in. That's not what put your opponent on their back and you pin them. What it was it led to other things, and if you really worked at it and practiced at it and used it in different situations in matches and competitions, then you learned how that move developed into other moves that would put your opponent on the back. But it was like this critical thing. It took patience, it took timing, and it took learning it properly. And then you took building upon it, building upon that move and using it, being able to use it in different ways. So think about that with our students learning. You know, when we teach them, when it's encoded and we get a window, a little picture of what they know at the end of class, it develops into what we're going to teach them tomorrow. But at that beginning of that lesson, the next day, what if that's when we gave them a quiz? What if that's when we made them retrieve that information out of their brains? And we don't begin with a review, we begin with them recalling what they learned. And it can be something that they do like on a brain dump on a piece of paper. It can be giving them a quiz at that time, but it's them recalling what they learned and having to pull that from their minds. And then that's going to give you a picture. What do they know? Not just what did they know at the encoding process. They've got to pull it out and they've got to get it. And that is the retrieval process. And that's where memories are built. Now, just doing it that one time that day and the next, that's not going to be enough. We're going to have to spiral and come back to it and retrieve it and build on it more and more. But I think that's where our problem is, that our kids don't get it. Later on down the line because we think we've given them that exit ticket and they should know it because they knew it at that time. We need to remember that's just the encoding point, that we need them to be able to continue to retrieve it. Now, remembering it can be a struggle, and guess what? We know that struggles build our memories, build our long-term memories, and that's a good thing, so that they need to keep taking that material and using it in difficult situations. Um, And they're going to remember it more and more the more they have to pull it from their memory, and they're going to become better skilled at it and become more accurate with that information. Every time they retrieve it, it makes it easier for them to recall that knowledge, and it strengthens those connections to that previous learning. And now we can take it and we can build into different contexts and build on and make more connections with that learning. So the very first time, the very best time to retrieve is when you're forgetting it. So don't let it wait. Take that next day, have them pull it out and use it, and then further on down the road. Each time, you can make it more engaging, you can make it more fun, you can make it more difficult, and they're going to learn more. So remember, the next time you think, did my students forget? Maybe remember, did I give them enough opportunities to learn? Did I give them enough opportunities to retrieve that information from their minds so that they can become more proficient at it? So enjoy your weekend. And if you have any questions about this or anything, you know where to reach me.